They called him the Experiment. Rumors circulated in the locker rooms of the late 80s and 90s. People actually believed that he was created in a Soviet laboratory, that his DNA had been spliced with something distinct from human. How else could you explain a man standing 6'3", weighing 286 pounds of pure, twisted muscle, who moved with the agility of a lightweight? But Alexander Karelin wasn't an experiment. He was something much more terrifying. He was a force of nature. In the history of combat sports, we talk about dominance, we talk about Jones, we talk about Khabib. But none of them, absolutely none of them, possess the statistics of this man. Imagine going 13 years undefeated in international competition. Imagine going 6 straight years without giving up a single point. Imagine your reputation being so terrifying that opponents would literally lay down on the mat and surrender before the match even started, just to avoid the pain. Today on Fight Martial, we are dissecting the career of the Russian Bear, the greatest Greco-Roman wrestler to ever walk the earth. This is the story of Alexander Karelin. To understand the monster, you have to understand the environment that forged him. Karelin was born in 1967 in Novosibirsk, Siberia. For those who don't know, Siberia is unforgiving. It is a place where the cold hurts your face, and the landscape is endless snow and ice. Karelin was born big, weighing a massive 12 pounds at birth, but his strength didn't come from a gym with fancy equipment. It came from the snow. His training methods are the stuff of legend. While Western athletes were using Nautilus machines and heart rate monitors, Karelin was running for hours in thigh-deep snow, wearing heavy combat boots. He would row boats until his hands bled. There is a famous story that perfectly encapsulates the brute force of the man. One day, he purchased a new refrigerator for his apartment in Siberia. It was a massive, heavy Soviet appliance. Instead of hiring movers or using a dolly, Karelin bear-hugged the refrigerator, lifted it off the ground, and carried it up 8 flights of stairs. Alone. He wasn't just building muscle. He was building a mindset that said, "Hardship is my friend." He started wrestling at age 13. By age 15, he broke his leg. His mother burned his wrestling uniform and told him to quit. But Karelin couldn't stop. He recovered, he returned, and he began a reign of terror that the wrestling world had never seen. Before we break down the move that literally defied the laws of physics, I have a quick favor to ask. If you enjoy deep dives into the legends of combat sports, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications for Fight Martial. We are building a community of fight fans who respect the history of the game. If you want to see more legends profiled like this, hit that like button right now. It helps the channel more than you know. Alright, back to the Russian Bear. In the heavyweight division of Greco-Roman wrestling, the laws of physics usually dictate the strategy. When 2 men weigh nearly 300 pounds each, they stay on the ground. You don't see high-amplitude throws. It's a game of shoving, leaning, and positional control. Or at least it was, until Karelin. He developed a technique that came to be known simply as the Karelin Lift. Here's the mechanics of it. Karelin would take an opponent who was lying flat on their stomach, essentially dead weight, playing defense. And he would reach over them, lock his hands around their waist, and hoist 280 pounds of resisting human cleanly into the air. He would then arc backward and slam them into the mat. This shouldn't be possible. The leverage required to lift a heavyweight from the ground, while you are also on the ground, requires ungodly lower back strength. Experts said it was biomechanically impossible, but Karelin did it to everyone. World champions, Olympic medalists, they all went for a ride. It was demoralizing. Imagine training your whole life, becoming the best in your country, only to be tossed around like a rag doll by a man who looks like he was carved out of granite. But Karelin was more than just muscle. He was an intellectual. This is the contrast that fascinated the world. The media painted him as a beast, a primitive caveman. But in reality, Karelin was a student of literature. He read Russian poetry. He loved opera and ballet. He eventually earned a PhD in pedagogy. He was a warrior poet, and he used his intellect to break his opponents mentally. This brings us to the Karelin stare. He didn't trash talk. He didn't shout. He simply walked onto the mat with a cold, dead-eyed expression. He looked bored. He looked like he was about to do a job he had done 1,000 times before. The fear factor became so high that a phenomenon emerged called the meanest man in the world effect. Opponents knew the Karelin Lift was coming. They knew they couldn't stop it. The anticipation of the pain, the humiliation of being thrown, was too much. Several elite wrestlers, when facing him in finals, would essentially give up before the whistle blew. They would accept the loss just to walk away uninjured. His record speaks for itself. 3 Olympic gold medals, 9 world championships, 12 European championships. Between 1987 and 2000, he wrestled hundreds of matches. He won them all. And for the last 6 years of that streak, no one even scored a point on him. Not a single point. But all empires fall. And the fall of Alexander Karelin is one of the most shocking moments in sports history. The year was 2000, the Sydney Olympics. Karelin was 33 years old. He was looking for his 4th gold medal to ride off into the sunset. He made it to the finals, of course. His opponent was an American farm boy named Rulon Gardner. Gardner was a good wrestler, but he wasn't in Karelin's league. Nobody gave the American a chance. The script was already written. But that day, something was different. Karelin seemed human. The match was a grind. Gardner was heavy, thick, and immobile. He refused to be lifted. And then, the unthinkable happened. In the second period, during a clinch, Karelin's grip slipped. It was a momentary lapse in concentration. A tiny mistake. Under the new rules at the time, breaking the lock gave a point to the opponent. 1 point. That was it. Rulon Gardner was leading 1-0. For the rest of the match, the world watched in stunned silence as the Russian bear tried to attack, but the American held his ground. The clock ticked down. The invincibility faded. When the whistle blew, Karelin stood there. He didn't cry. He didn't throw a tantrum. He simply took off his wrestling shoes, placed them in the center of the mat, and walked away. The streak was over. The career was finished. Karelin left his shoes in Sydney, but he left a legacy that will never be touched. He finished his career with 887 wins and 2 losses. Read that again in your head. 887 and 2. He proved that technique and strength are nothing without the will to suffer. He showed us that a man can be a beast on the mat and a gentleman off of it. He was the experiment that went right. There will be other champions. There will be other heavyweights. But there will never be another Alexander Karelin. What do you think? Is Alexander Karelin the greatest combat sports athlete of all time? Or does that title belong to someone else? Let me know in the comments below. I read all of them. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the Russian bear, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Fight Martial. We have a massive video coming next week. Thanks for watching, and keep fighting.